name is Mike Simpfendorfer, and welcome from Southern California. We want to spend a few minutes today talking about what's been going on in the world, and more importantly, how that affects you, our viewers. The first thing I wanted to be able to share with you today is it looks like it is apparent in the state of Oregon, 5 members of the legislature are of Vietnamese descent. What's important about that is of all the states in the United States, 50 states, Oregon will have more members from the Vietnamese community than any other state. And the reason why I wanted to share that with you today is it shows the importance of how people get involved, learn, and get elected so they can make our lives better. Because there are a lot of challenges no matter where you are in the world, where you are in the United States, that is our government responding to us. So I wanted to be able to share that we should celebrate the fact that when the legislature convenes in January in the state of Oregon, 5 members of its House are of Vietnamese descent. That is absolutely remarkable. They come from all different backgrounds, and they simply demonstrated the ability to become American. That is the American dream that many of us have, no matter where we are in the world, to be able to get involved in our community, learn what's going on in our community, be successful, and be successful at no matter what we choose to do, no matter what our career is, and then run for office and get elected. Because no matter where we are in the world, we are in need of good, hardworking public servants. And I think today we should celebrate the fact that in Oregon, 5 people who are of Vietnamese descent got elected to the Florida state legislature. To the Oregon state legislature. That is absolutely remarkable. And I think we need to be able to look around, and no matter where you are, no matter what the level of government is, whether it's your school board, your city council, different commissions, the state legislature, get involved. That is our duty to be able to help ourselves and help our fellow citizens, is to be able to know, hey, I have an idea, I have a belief, and I want to get involved. Because until you do that, you really don't have much room to complain. And there is an old saying, if you didn't vote, don't complain. So I think we ought to be able to salute what is going on in Oregon, because it is tremendous to see that people who are of a different descent, different background, their families came to America, they assimilated, they got involved, they were successful in their careers, and then they decided they needed to be able to do more for their own, and they got elected. That's what this dialogue is about. It isn't about what's going on in the news and so what. It's about what's going on in the news and how it affects you. If you happen to be a viewer from Oregon, tell us what you think. Matter of fact, any of our viewers, tell us what you think about the fact that 5 members of the Oregon state legislature are going to be of Vietnamese descent. 5 Americans who are of Vietnamese descent got elected to the state legislature in Oregon. That is absolutely fabulous to see. It is heartwarming to see that people who probably didn't think they were politicians could go before the people and be able to communicate, this is what I believe in, this is what we should be doing, and this is what I want to be able to do. No matter where your community is, no matter which state, which country, you've got to be able to figure out, what can I do to help my community, to help perhaps my church, my school, my religious organization. No matter what you believe or how you believe, get involved. That's the moral of the story of what's going on in Oregon. Get involved. And you get involved because you care. We need more people who care You look at some of the troubled spots of the world, of what's going on in Ukraine, and we are forever reading of the stories of how people helped, of how people stepped up and did things that they didn't realize would make a difference. So the challenge is, make a difference. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you can make a difference by helping yourself learn something. You can make a difference by achieving an academic credential. You can make a difference by getting a professional license that allows you to do what you can do. You make a difference by showing up at your church meeting. You can make a difference by going to a city council meeting, your village council meeting, and listen and learn. Because the important thing to making a difference is you can do it from the outside, which often you aren't very successful. But you can do it by being there and having listened to what was going on, the challenges, the frustrations. And there are a lot of frustrations out in the world. All you got to do is look at the news. A lot of us are very frustrated. So get involved. That's part of the reason why I wanted and asked to join, because I have a dialogue about what's going on in your community, what's going on in your school, what's going on in your household. Do you have a family member that's struggling? Find a way to help them. Everybody can always tell somebody what to do, but my question today is, how can you make a difference, a real difference? And it could be something so small as joining a grandparent for their meal and telling them what you did today. And then more importantly, listen to what they have to say. I think we need to remember our grandparents and our parents have a lot of history. They have a lot of experience. And when we're younger, listen. I'm 60 years old. I always enjoy listening to the stories of somebody who's older. There are a lot of our fellow citizens, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles who are in their 70s and 80s. They have got a wealth of experience, of successes that they achieved, and sometimes they had failures. We learn from our failures, and we need to be able to make sure we try to avoid, if we can, that same mistake they might have made. So join them for a meal. Join them for their cup of coffee, their glass of tea, and realize it's time to learn. It's time to learn from them, because what happened in Oregon could happen anywhere. And what happened in Oregon could happen right in your community, right in your village, right in your church, your school, any organization that you're a part of. Because we've got to be able to figure out how to help people. And sometimes we may only be able to help one at a time, but we've got to be able to help people succeed. You look at what's going on, the terrible tragedy in Ukraine, where people are dying because they're being attacked brutally. You look at what's going on in other parts of the world where people are suffering. So the question today is, what are you going to do to perhaps make a difference in your community or your organization? Or what are you going to do to perhaps go somewhere and be able to help out? Because your knowledge can help make somebody else's life better. And I think we need to realize that no matter what's going on in the world, you look at the stress that's going on in Taiwan, because they are under constant threat of what's going on to their island nation. And you look at how people are trying to contribute to help them be successful in their own defense. We need to realize the parts of the world that are under stress is often a need for you, the viewer, to either teach somebody or for you to be able to learn, get a degree, get a professional license, become a leader, whether it's your church or civic organization or your local village or your local city or your state government, your county government. We are in desperate need for you to step up, to rise up and realize this is your calling. Do something about it. It doesn't matter your age. You go look at American history and you look how old some of the people were when they founded some of the greatest corporations of America. You look at McDonald's, you look at Walmart. Their leaders were not in their 20s or 30s. They were much further along in life, but yet they found their calling. So just because you're 50 or 60, it doesn't mean your best is behind you. It often means the future is right in front of you. And you can use those experiences. You can use the fact that you might have had some failures that were painful to know what to do. And you might be able to help your own local area. Or perhaps you sign up and you go somewhere to make a difference. You look at the many, many opportunities that the American military has, where you can learn how to do something, get paid to do something, and then perhaps even get a college scholarship. So when you get done, you can go to school. That's a tremendous opportunity that is in front of many young Americans, are those jobs. And I think we have to realize, perhaps as older adults, we have to give the guidance to our younger people to realize you can go into this branch of service, learn how to do something, get out, and then be able to make a difference. I want to tell you about the man that delivers the mail at our house. He did 20 years in the Army, and now he's got about 16 years delivering mail. And then when he gets 20 years, he's going to call it a day. And I looked at him and I said, congratulations. Most people struggle to do one career. Now you've done two. And you've made a tremendous difference for your country, the United States. And now you're making a difference for all the households that you make sure they get their mail every day. That gentleman's serving. He served a country, and now he's serving the community. And we have to be able to salute him like smart. He's served two different entities, and he's got two pensions. Remarkable. How many of us can look in the mirror and go, wow, I've done that? Not many people can. And so the challenge, go make a difference. Go make a difference like those 5 people who did in Oregon who got elected. Go make a difference like the gentleman that delivers our mail. Served 20 years in one, another 20 years somewhere else, and when it's 20 years at the post office, he's going to have 2 pensions. I can only salute somebody who does something like that. And that's the purpose of our dialogue today, is to be able to help you realize, make a difference. You have the power to make a difference. You have the smarts to make a difference. And you have the energy to make a difference. And you know what? Age doesn't matter. I appreciate the time that we spent today. We're going to take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll have a discussion that continues. Mike Simpendorfer from Southern California Today we want to be able to talk about how did COVID affect you, and how did COVID affect our community, and how did COVID affect our life long term? Approximately 1 million Americans passed away during COVID, and that's a very tragic story. Many of us lost loved ones, but I want to be able to talk about how that affects you. So the reality that happened, approximately 1 million people passed away. A lot of people that were 50 years of age or older took early retirement. They left their jobs. So the reality that we face, many industries lost a lot of brain power. They call it brain drain. And it happened throughout all over America and all over the world because a lot of people lost their lives. And what we need to realize is there are a lot of employers and there are a lot of industries that are struggling to backfill the fact that they lost people that had been with them 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And so the sad reality is that's actually your opportunity. Let's put this in perspective of what's gone on in the last 60 or 80 years. So in the United States during World War II, the 1940s, hundreds of thousands of men left their jobs to go fight in World War II. In mass numbers, quickly. So a lot of people, which were primarily women, had to step up and go to work who have never worked before. And the stories are abound. Simply ask a grandparent of what went on during World War II, and it'll give you reality and insight. Hundreds of thousands of our men went to war. Hundreds of thousands didn't come back. Women at home stepped up. Women abroad stepped up. The world just recently lost Queen Elizabeth. And as some people may realize, during the war, as a young lady, she was a mechanic because that was how she contributed to the war effort. The men left, they went to war, somebody had to step in and do these jobs. And at that time and era, a lot of women didn't work until World War II happened. So now let's fast forward to the COVID time. In America, we lost 1 million. The world lost millions of people. Industries around the world lost some of their best talent to either people who passed away or people who took early retirement because they were afraid. They didn't know, am I going to die if I go to work today? So they took early retirement. So what does that mean for people that are 25, 30, 35 years of age? What does that mean for people that are coming out of high school? What does that mean for people coming out of college? Here's exactly what that means. There is tremendous need for people to get employed, step up to the plate, learn how to show up on time for work, ready to work. And here's the reality. A lot of the leadership isn't there anymore. So even if you have the leadership skills, you could quickly move up in an organization faster now that more than ever before than at any time in the history of the world, perhaps since World War II. And simply because the experience, the leaders that we had, they're not there anymore. So this is your opportunity. So I look at all these, especially younger people that are out there today. You have an opportunity to move up quickly. So the challenge is find out how to get employed. Not all jobs require a 4-year degree. Many jobs simply require you finished high school, you're 18 years of age. You can pass a criminal background check perhaps, or you can pass basic drug testing. That's your opportunity. And I can only want to encourage you, you want to make yourself feel proud, you want to make your families feel proud of you, go get employed in the organizations that need people. Recently, I talked about the man that delivers the mail for our house. In the United States, the post office is desperately trying to backfill. They had large numbers of people, 50 years of age and older, who retired or passed away. They are in desperate need of people who can simply show up for work, willing to work, and more importantly, willing to move up. There is not going to be another time in the history of the country or the world where you can get into an organization and realize, wow, they lost a lot of people from COVID. They either passed away or they took early retirement or they simply quit. So find out what you have got to do, because you can move up. You can make yourself prouder more than any other time before. Before, it might take 5 or 10 years to move up to that supervisor's role. Now it might only be a matter of weeks, months, or a year. Take advantage of it. Organizations, large and small, are in desperate need of you. They're in desperate need of you finding out what you need to do to be successful. And a lot of being successful is simply show up, ready to work. If they need some overtime, volunteer. Take advantage of a lot of sadness that occurred with people that are no longer alive and realize, wow, I applied for a job with this organization or this company, and now I realize they're minus a lot of people. They need some help. Be the one that helps. Find out what you got to do. Let's take the medical industry in the United States. Simply get in. Find out what you got to do for the most entry-level job. Get in. I can promise you, as I look you in the eye today, many hospitals, organizations tied to the medical insurance industry, you get in, you demonstrate an ability to perform, and the next thing you know, they're going to start talking to you, well, if you go get this credential or this license, you can get paid more. And the company will reimburse you, or the company will simply pay for it. Take advantage of that. That's your opportunity. That is your chance that is unlike any other chance of a lifetime to get into an organization and simply realize, I can move up pretty quick. 4 years ago, it might have taken me years. Now it might only take me a year. And move up in these organizations. Take advantage of the fact that they're going to pay for my schooling. They're going to pay for part of your schooling. And that schooling isn't necessarily 4 years. There are a lot of jobs in the medical industry where you can get 2 years or less, or even a year or less of schooling, apply to get your professional license, now you got a job. And that job pays more than what you ever realized. I'm sharing with you today, this is your opportunity to do something, to make a difference for you, your family, your household, your loved ones. Take advantage of what has happened. They often say one person's tragedy can be another person's opportunity. This is your opportunity. We lost a lot of loved ones. Realize, hey, I can get ahead a lot faster now than ever before. Find out. Simply go on like everybody else does and Google for the different jobs that are available. A lot of times people think in a hospital you have to have a medical job. They need IT. They need janitorial. They need all the cafeterias. A lot of these hospitals have cafeterias. So it may not necessarily be, quote, the nursing degree that you need to get in. No. Get in. Get in, whether it's through the medical or the other services that you can bring or that you're willing to learn. They will pay. You take a look at some of the medical insurance companies, they've become so concerned about the inability to fill the role of future doctors. Some of them have formed their own medical school. Realize that's your opportunity. Take advantage of that. Go apply. Go online. Research. Find out, okay, I don't have any degrees. I graduated from high school. But just get in. Get in, and once you're in, and they see that you show up on time, you do great work, you got a great attitude, you work well with other people, you work well with the patients. Believe me, you may not think they're looking, they're watching. Employers today are challenged more than any other time in the history of our country to find people who will move up, to find people that will simply be willing to take on more responsibility. And like I've said, you may not need that 4-year degree. You may not even need a 2-year degree. You may not even need a 1-year degree. You may be able to do it. Take a look at what's going on with the trucking industry. Truckers can make close to 6 digits of income if they're willing to go cross country. I know truckers that make 6 digits of income and they drive locally here in Southern California. You simply need to be able to go get your Class B license with an air brake certification, and the next thing you know, you could be driving a garbage truck. That may not be a glamorous job for some until you start making $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year. That's a great job. That's great pay. And all you had to do was spend several months to get that air brake certification and Class B license, or even yet get a commercial driver's license. I want to encourage you today, take advantage of what has happened and understand what has happened. We lost a lot of people. We lost a lot of loved ones. So realize, I may not have liked the job I had a year or two ago. So find out, what can I go do different with my career? Help me, help my family, help my household. Because those opportunities are right in front of you and you may not even see them. I want to help you see them today. It is as clear as day. Those opportunities are there. Go for it. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you'll realize, wow, I took a chance, I took a leap of faith, and I went and found a job that I didn't realize I could do well. And because I showed up on time, I did what they asked me to do, I worked hard, I worked well with others, and now all of a sudden I'm a supervisor or I'm a manager and I'm making more money than I ever thought I could before. Take a look at what's going on around you. This is your opportunity. Take advantage of it. Have a great day. Mike Simpfendorfer from sunny Southern California today. I want to be able to talk about some of the things that are going on in the news and how does that affect you. So you got to ask yourself, how does what's happening in Ukraine affect you? It's had an impact on the world. It's had an impact on you. How does what happens in North Korea affect you? How does what could happen in Taiwan affect you? How does what happens in Florida affect you who might be living somewhere else? How does living in the upper Midwest, such as Wisconsin or Michigan, affect you? How this affects you is you got to look at what are the opportunities that are occurring today because of world events. They're happening. And then you got to ask yourself, so how does that affect me? Because a lot of times people, can you go do this? Can you go do that? Can you donate here? Can you help here? And then sometimes you go, well, how about I want to be able to help myself. I want to be able to learn what I can do. So I want to be able to share with you some thoughts. And what you may be able to do may involve, you may want to move. You look at different parts of the country and you may realize the job market is pretty tight. It is loosening up some because we're seeing the layoffs that are occurring at Facebook, Twitter, and other companies. Carvana just laid off some more people. So you're starting to realize the tech industry is going through some changes. And then you start to realize other white-collar jobs realize they don't need people. But importantly, because of what happened in COVID, a lot of us learned we can work remote. I know somebody that works for a mortgage company in Southern California, they actually live in Florida. It doesn't matter as long as you have good internet, computer and printer and scanner, a lot of times you can start working. So you got to ask yourself, what are the opportunities that it gives you to realize I may not have to live where I thought I needed to live to do a lot of jobs. You may not have to live in a large city to be able to work for a large company. You can move to other parts of the country where you have a lower cost of living. You could live in other countries and still work remote. The stories are abound. Read a story about how a lot of people during COVID, white-collar professionals, different professionals in different industries, moved to Mexico City because they realized simply with good internet, they could work. And it didn't matter so much the time difference. It might be an hour or two either way, but they could take a chance that they never had before and live in a large international city and work and get paid whatever they're getting paid. You look at people that do work for companies in Europe, but they're in America. Or you look at companies that are in America and they have a lot of work for people in Taiwan. Take a look at what's going on around you and realize, okay, it is what's happening, but more importantly, how does that affect you? Maybe you might want to move to the upper Midwest because there's simply fewer people. You can buy property with an acre. You can start a small farm. You can grow crops if that's what you like to do. You can realize I'm bilingual. I want to look everybody in the eye today and tell them, if you have an ability to communicate in more than one language, bravo to you. You have a leg up on everybody else in the job market that can only speak one language. Let's think about that for a minute. Because you might be bilingual or even trilingual, that is such a huge, huge asset in the world market. Companies are desperate for people who can communicate and understand multiple languages, or even better yet, go between different cultures. I met a licensed professional. He's here in the United States. He's from Asia. He can go back and forth between their cultures in the blink of an eye. And then I partially started to understand. This is why he's so successful. He's multilingual, and he can go between two cultures, East and West culture, that often don't mix. So my question to you today is, can you do the same? Did you grow up somewhere else and you're living somewhere else and you still have the language from home and you can communicate in multiple languages and even more importantly, go between multiple cultures at the same time? Companies, government organizations, large and small, are desperate for people that can adapt and improvise, because I need you to travel to this country, or I need you to travel to that country, and then to be able to go to that country and work and be successful and get along with people. And just because you might be Christian and you're working in a Muslim country, to be able to realize it's a different culture and different traditions, find out what they are. Take it as your personal learning opportunity to realize, I've read about it, but I've never worked there. I've never lived there short-term or long-term. Realize this is your opportunity, because you might have been born somewhere else and you're living here today. That is a huge asset. There's not a degree per se. It's simply a life experience that is very important. And as you apply for jobs, of making sure they know, oh, by the way, I can do conversational this language or that language. I grew up in a household that spoke this language. Because that's an asset. There are a lot of jobs out there that will pay you extra pay because you can speak an additional language. Take advantage of it. It's absolutely sad if you think, well, because I might only know a little bit of this language and I can speak this other language really well, but that other language is not used in my home country. That's not a minus. That's a huge plus. That's your credential. You should be proud of the fact that you could do that. So I want to encourage you today, put what is you to work, whether it is here or work that is somewhere else. It's about you. And it's about what you can bring to the table for a company, a government organization. A lot of times I run into people that they grew up from countries that they were fleeing, but yet they have the language of that country that they left. And I look at them and go, there are so many government organizations that would love to have you. And it's like a deer in the headlight look. No more deer in the headlight looks. Let's figure out how to put to work what is you. Let's figure out how to put to work what you know how to do. Are you able to do business in multiple cultural settings? Are you able to do business with multiple languages? Even if the other language is conversational, it's the fact that you can communicate in another language, even at a basic level. That's your plus. That's what you bring to the table. That's what you bring to an employer. Because a lot of employers have staff that's bilingual or multiple languages, multiple backgrounds. Be proud of who you are. Realize that because you grew up or you had to leave a country that was under war or that was not respecting your rights or your beliefs, don't be afraid to share that. Share that in the humble way that you know how. I left this area because I believed this and the government did not like that. So I knew it was time to leave. You know what that tells an employer? It tells an employer that you're pretty smart. That you realize, okay, you can't change the negative that might be going on in your country. But you have the common sense to realize, you know what, I think I need to move on. Get out of the way. Because it's only going to be negative, not positive. And then what I'm sharing with you and looking you in the eye to say, put that to use. Make that your asset. It's not a liability. Make that your plus. Make that, hey, I grew up and when I was a small child, I don't remember much, but we left. I remember the story because my grandmother or my parents told me. Share that. That's who you are. That's what makes you special. And that's what makes you able to relate to what is happening in other parts of the country. There's a lot of very tragic situations going on. And I've mentioned some of them before. And so you can understand what people from those countries might be going through, because you've been through that yourself. Or even though you may not remember what you went through because you were small, you experienced it. You know, you look at what people, and there aren't many of them left who went through the Holocaust. Have a cup of coffee with that person. They have a story that is worthy of the books. You can listen and learn, because what we can learn is to make sure that never happens again. What we can learn is the evil does occur, and there is evil out there. Some people spoke up about it. Other people closed their eyes and pretended it didn't exist. Don't close your eyes and pretend it doesn't exist. Learn what has gone on with your grandparents or your great-grandparents. Learn what they experienced. Learn what they went through to get you out of a bad situation to something positive. And then now that you're in something positive or better situation, you have got to learn what's going on so you can make yourself better for you, your family, your household. Because I can promise you this, the families from Oregon that we talked about in an earlier segment, they are extremely proud that their members of their family got elected to a statewide office in a state that they weren't born in, but yet is their new country, their new state, where they have put down their roots, and now their family members have gotten elected. You can only be happy. So I want to share with you today, figure out how to find your happiness, figure out how to use the advantage of who you are to be who you are, and then put that to work. Because I can promise you this, there's an employer out there looking for you. There's a situation that is for you because of what has happened in the last few years, and more importantly, what has happened in the last couple generations. Make it your plus. Be who you are. Decide you're going to go make a difference. Decide you're going to join an organization, a school, a church organization, a religious organization, and you're going to go help, and you're going to learn, and you're going to listen. And then the next thing you know, you have gotten ahead when you didn't even realize it's possible. Take care, and good day.